Hi, this is Dr. Rajesh Kumar Verma, the professor of practice at VNR VJEC, Hyderabad. Today, we are going to discuss about agentic AI, and these are the topics that we'll be covering during our presentation today. Briefly, we'll be talking about agentic AI and the design patterns, the planning patterns, the trends which are there, and we'll show you some of the Python programs which we have done using Microsoft AutoGen tool. And then, of course, we'll go into the references. This is a very, very important topic of agentic AI that we are discussing, and hence it is what we like to emphasize to you. Okay, let's dive in to the topic of agentic AI. And it is very essential in the very beginning that we need to understand what is agentic AI. Like, it is an autonomous agent that we are trying to create using our AI programming technique. Okay, and it is similar to any agent which would basically create for us the different type of roles. Like, he would create a particular ticket for us, and that ticket would then go across various steps, and then it would get done, and the ticket would get updated. I'm just taking the example of snow or service now, how the ticket gets through the service now, and then it gets updated and so on. It goes to the user. So this is what he or she as a service agent would do that. But instead of that, I now have an agentic AI program that is basically going to do. So in fact, I replace the person by a program, and that is the goal of agentic AI. How does it differ from generative AI? Generative AI is basically going to generate some of the visuals for us, some of the text for us, or some of the speech for us. But agentic AI is going to basically go ahead and do the work for us. If there is a particular error that has happened, then the agentic AI program would basically take this, execute it, and then basically rectify the problem. So as soon as the problem is basically identified, the agentic AI program would basically aim towards rectifying the issue and then inform the user basically. So this is basically the difference between the two. Now, what are the key attributes which are there, which are basically different between the agentic AI and the generative AI? The key attributes are that agentic AI is autonomous action, and basically decision making is done in case of agentic AI. In case of generative AI, we basically create the content and then we display it to the user based on the training data the content is really created. And several other differences are there, like agentic AI is basically capable of setting its own goals. Okay, and whereas the generative AI has no independent goal setting, it cannot do by itself, but it basically takes the instruction from the user, who basically gives some of the data, and then it takes that and then basically generates the particular visual, text or speech, videos, and so on and so forth for us. Okay, now The very question is, why do we need agents? We need agents because of the fact that we want our tasks to be accomplished automatically. Now, take for example a LLM, the large language model, okay, that has the increased processing or the performance when we are going to use agentic workflows. Take for example GPT 3.5, GPT 4, now GPT 5 that we are having, the latest one. And then what we have in the agentic systems is that we achieve up to 95% of the accuracy of resolving each of the issues in this case, and that is the beauty of using the agentic AI. Now, how really do agents work? We give a instruction to the machine as a first step in agentic AI. Subsequently, the LLM process the prompt and decides what tool to call based on the available set of tools. Okay, and then basically the specific tool and the tool arguments, okay, are then executed by the system to get the context information. And lastly, but not the least, this result or the new information is then passed along with the initial prompt to the LLM to give a response or call the more tools. And this is how the problems are solved using the agentic AI. Okay, we will talk about some of the architecture design patterns of agentic AI, and the top 4 of the architecture patterns are basically the reflection pattern, the tool use pattern, the planning pattern, and the multi-agent pattern. This we have to remember are the top 4 agentic AI patterns. Okay, now we'll talk about the very first, that is the reflection pattern. And in the reflection pattern, what happens is that we aim at improving the AI agent's ability to evaluate and refine its own outputs. This self-critic loop, okay, then generates, and reflecting is not limited to a single iteration. Okay, the system can repeat the reflection process as many times as necessary to achieve the refined result. And a self-reflection RAG is popular agentic AI, agentic RAG system using this pattern. This is a typical example. We'll talk about the second pattern, that is a tool uses pattern. Please see the diagram which we are showing on the top. Okay. Now, when we are having a particular tool, the tool uses pattern significantly broadens an LLM capability by allowing it to interact with external tools and APIs. For example, if I needed in a telecom domain, if I needed Snow and if I need Nagios, then the agentic AI is basically going to touch Snow. Of course, it has to, and that Nagios, and then give us the result. So this is basically the tool usage pattern which the agentic AI typically follows. Okay. Now, we also have the planning pattern. And in the planning pattern, what we enable is we enable the LLM to break down large, complicated tasks into smaller, more manageable components. That is what we enable. And subsequently, we plan it out and then process the particular task one by one, and subsequently give the results to the particular user. So the task runs from first, second, third, fourth, how many processes it has, and then the result is got in the end process of the task. This is the planning pattern of the agentic AI. Now, the last and the final pattern is multi-agent, which is very, very important. Agent is there which is performing its particular task, but it may also need to interact with various agents. Okay, in that case, we use this particular pattern, which is the multi-agent task. Now, several types of multi-agents system patterns are there. Collaborative pattern, in which one agent collaborates with another agent. Okay, supervised agents, they are like our supervised algorithms are there. There is a central supervisor, and he has to manage the other agents, and the hierarchical teams agents are also there, in which a structured system where the higher level agents oversee the lower level agents. So in this way, the multi-agent pattern is basically executed, and it is also possible to get the task done through these particular patterns. Now, what are the planning patterns which are there? We got to discuss in little bit more detail. Okay, now here in this particular pattern, we give a prompt, and then planning is done, the task is generated, and subsequently it is basically giving the particular result to us. If not, we have to replan, and then we have to ensure that the task is basically done. Okay. Now, how these planning agents basically work? They first plan. Okay. That is, a typical big task is decomposed into smaller tasks, and subsequently planning is done. Okay. Now, the task, as I told you, is generated for the different steps which are there, and then we have a single task executed. Okay, and subsequent to the execution of the single task, we may find that the task executed is not as per what we expected. In that case, we replan, and then we execute the task. So in this way, some iterations are possible in the planning agents. So that is what happens in case of the agentic AI planning agent. Take for example, here you see that several of the people are planning to do a particular task. So they have evaluated, they have iterated the task several times, and they have achieved the goal. Wonderful. That is how the agent does that. But we may also need to iterate. In this case, we also go ahead and try to iterate the task so that we achieve and refine the task that we are supposed to achieve. Okay. This is another such example that we give, in which case you see that we till the final answer is got, and the answer is as per the satisfaction, the task is executed again and again. That is, we iterate the task so that we basically achieve the final goal, and the next step is basically the refinement. Okay, we do that. Okay, now let us take the task decomposition for agentic AI planning. How do we do that? Suppose we start with a particular goal, and then we have a LLM agent. Okay, that LLM agent basically does this particular task for us. So what we do is we ask the LLM agent to basically do the task for us, and we basically go ahead and try to do the task in a refined fashion. So that's how we basically do the agentic AI tasks. In the React framework, what we really do is we do the reasoning and then the action. So that is required in case of agentic AI. First, we do the reasoning, and in the reasoning, we try to take that particular action that we need to perform, and subsequently we do the action, so that the React framework which is there, it works totally in the correct fashion. Like, because first we have done the reasoning, and after doing the reasoning we have accordingly performed the action. So this is the reasoning and action framework that we follow in case of agentic AI, or the React framework in short. Okay, as you can see that he has performed one of the reasoning and action framework with the help of LangChain, which is one of the packages of Python for the agentic AI. Okay, this is the same example that we are showing you using the LangChain framework. Okay, now there is also the review framework which is there, and in this case of the review framework, what happens is that we basically do the reasoning, and there is no observation without observation. So in this particular framework we do the reasoning, but that goes without observation. So this framework could also be followed in case of agentic AI. Okay, some more diagrams which are there for the review framework, and as you can see, he has done the reasoning, and then subsequently he has done the work. There is no observation in this case. Okay, now some of the trends which are there, and which are there in this particular year, is that we are seeing that there is an increase in AI agent adoption. Please go to any industry and you will find that in any of the industries they are going to have agentic AI developed. They do not need the bunch of service agents who are going to process the particular work. Instead, they're going to have computer agents or programs which are basically going to be run whenever a particular person is wanting the task to be accomplished. That is why we are seeing a increased AI agent adoption. We are having the proactive AI agents, which means to say, as soon as the agents find out that some task need to be accomplished or there is an issue, they will act on it immediately, so that we save the time. Also, we are finding that a lot of multi-agents are there. We may need a particular agent, we may also need the second agent. So in this way we create a lot of multi-agents and we accomplish the particular task. So that you can see that we are having a lot of increased AI adoption and in the industries, and you can see that AI agents are basically being used in the industry lots and lots, and this graph is basically showing you all of that. Okay, also we are going to go for the proactive AI agents. Like I already spoken to you about the proactive AI agents, in which the agent is going to look at the issue coming up and then basically going to solve the issue through the programming, and then it will give the output to the user who did that. Okay, also we are seeing AI agents and hyper personalization a lot in the industry, which is basically coming up. We are also going to see in the future that emotional intelligence in the AI agents is basically got, and then basically progressive. Already a lot of this work has been done in the industry, and still the work is proceeding at a fast pace, and we are going to find a lot of it come along. Okay, also we are going to have a lot of multimodal capabilities in the AI agent. So when we say multimodal capabilities, we are going to have not only the processing of a typical type of a media, for example, the text media. We are also going to see along with that the videos and all this processing are going to happen, the images processing. So that is what is basically coming up and going to take shape in the years to come. Okay, already a lot of this has already been there. So we are going to see a lot of advanced multi-agents which are going to come into the particular industry in the near future. Now, these are some of the AI agents building frameworks which are there, and the popular among them being LangChain, the LangGraph, the Microsoft Autogen, the semantic kernel, the Crew AI. These are some of the frameworks which are being used. Okay, and I'm going to show you an example about the Microsoft Autogen that we have used for the agentic AI. Okay, now we also want to say there is an increased integration with the IoT and the personal devices that has been taking a lot of major role in the industry. Okay, now I also want to say that ethical AI and transparent AI agent decision making is basically going to place in the industry. Now I wanted to show you some of the few Python programs. Okay, and as you can see, this is one of the agentic AI program that we have done. Okay, and you can see agents are basically being in action, and they are going ahead and doing the work. Okay, now second program in continuation to that, we are basically having a particular text, and that text we are picking it up. Okay, so this is all being done with the help of agentic AI. Okay, now please note out here that we are having a path of the learning, and this path of learning is basically the agent is taking by itself and basically going ahead and forming it. And if you want these particular programs, we'll be happy to give it to you, and you can basically run it, all the programs of agentic AI. Okay, now here is something which is basically from the Microsoft Autogen. We have used the Autogen library, and as you can see, we are basically doing the agentic AI program. Okay, and in this particular program, we are taking the various users are there, and they are basically going ahead and doing the execution part of it. Okay, and to tell you at the end some of the references that we want to tell you, and we want you to go through this particular research paper which are there. Like we have listed a list of 10 different research papers, and request you all to go to through this particular agentic AI research papers. Okay. Some of the research, some of the agentic AI books that we have also given you. Okay, one is the Introduction to Agentic AI and the Agentic AI Systems. Okay, these are the books that we have given you. However, there are a lot of agentic AI books that you can refer to, lot of material that you can refer to, and you can do it by yourself. Okay, these are some of the books like overview of the agentic AI and some of the programming books that you can also refer to while doing the agentic AI. A lot many books are there, and they are coming up, being published every day. So please refer to that. And thank you very much for patiently listening.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.